Now, retirement is a rite of passage. Everybody does it. And owning a mortgage-free home is often talked about as the key to navigating this part of your life successfully. But according to our next guest, while that might be a good place to start, it's unlikely to be enough. So here to talk about what you really need to see you through is property commentator from oneroof.co.nz, Ashley Church. Good morning.
Good morning, Haley.
Now, we don't want to get too grim this morning.
No.
But is owning a mortgage-free home actually not enough to retire on?
No, it's interesting because we have this perception as Kiwis that if you ferret away during your life, you manage to pay your house off and get rid of your mortgage by the time you retire, then you're pretty much set up for your retirement. And that's been a long-held view for a very, very long time. The problem is, depending on your circumstances, depending on what it is that you want to achieve during the years of your retirement, it's probably not enough. Having said that, there's a very big chunk of New Zealand who actually do just live on their retirement income at the moment. So we've got 40% of Kiwis, 60% of Kiwis who rely largely on superannuation to survive, and we've got 40% of Kiwis who have no other form of income. So for those people, if you don't have a mortgage-free home, basically you're in a pretty difficult position.
Because you have to use your pension then to pay rent.
Essentially, yes. So what I'm basically saying is, hey, look, it really comes down to what it is that you want to achieve. If you're happy basically to struggle and get by for 20 or 25 years in retirement, then by all means, get your house paid off and basically live off what the government's prepared to pay you over that period of time. But if you want to live at a level that's commensurate with what you were earning while you were working, then you need to be a little bit more planned than that. And so just to give you some figures, the median income in New Zealand, the median household income is $106,000 in 2018. If you were a couple and earning that income and you were wanting to retire and have an income that was commensurate with 70% of that in retirement, and I say 70% because if you had a mortgage-free home, obviously you wouldn't have the costs associated with that anymore.
Which is a high cost, the cost of living.
That's exactly right. So there'd be a little bit of a saving. You'd actually need 1.8 million. Now the government will pay you about 800,000 of that in retirement over that 25 years. So basically you need the difference, which is $1 million put aside.
So you need a cool mill of your own.
For that couple in that example, there are people who could do with less, but there are people who conversely would need more.
What about people out there who are watching who are on the minimum wage? They've got no hope of owning a home in their lifetime. What's there? What do they have to do? Oh,
look, I think that's going to require a re-examination of policy over the next few years. So for those people, they're in a really, really difficult position. You haven't got a home, you can't pay that home off, you're in retirement at the moment, you're paid at the same rate as somebody who's got a mortgage-free home. It's a generous scheme by world standards, but it's still difficult to survive on that amount. So at some point in the future, we're actually going to need to re-examine what we do for those people as housing costs increase.
That's going to be very contentious, of course, because more people are going to be of retirement age.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. But let's not get too depressed?
Too depressed, no.
What can we do?
Well, there are some things we can do. I mean, if I'm 55, so if you're 55 and you haven't done anything and you're in my position, but that's very, very difficult. So what I'm really saying is, hey, look, let's go back a couple of generations. If you're 20, if you're just entering the workforce, there are some things that you can do to actually prepare yourself for retirement. And the first of those is we have this magnificent scheme called KiwiSave that everybody knows about. Get into it as soon as you can and put as much aside in that scheme as you can afford to put aside early. Get yourself into that habit and start making sure that you're saving for your retirement and you're preparing. But the second thing is, and again, and this is really easy for me to sit here and say this, but do whatever you can to own your own home at some stage during your lifetime. Get a house and make sure that you're actually paying that house off so that by the time you get to retirement, you've actually got that property to provide for you. And the third thing is invest in something, and it doesn't have to be property. Look, it could be the share market, it could be currency trading. It could be a business. Understand one of those things and start investing in it so you're actually putting aside for yourself during your twilight years.
Now, you mentioned put as much money into KiwiSaver as possible, but also to get a home. If you are a first-home buyer, would you take the money out of KiwiSaver?
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about KiwiSaver is in those early years, what do you put into it you can actually use as a deposit towards your home. So it's kind of a double benefit. You've got the ability to actually save for your retirement and to use that toward the cost of purchasing a home in those early years. So all the more reason why you should be doing that.
Is there any good news?
Well, the good news is if you plan early and you're young and you're listening to this message and you actually take it seriously, then there's no reason why you couldn't be in a strong position at retirement. The bad news is if you're not, but
Right, so listen to Ashley Church, everybody out there. He's a wise man. Thank you so much. It's Ashley Church.
Thanks, Ashley. It's always nice to have you in.